We're continuing our coverage here with the budget architects, the team from North Block here with us at the CNBC-TV18 budget headquarters, decoding the fine print of the budget that has unequivocally got a very positive response across the board. Joining me now, Nitin Gupta, the chairman of the CBDT, and Vivek, Johri, the chairman of the CBIC. Gentlemen, as always, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Mr. Gupta, let me start by asking you, because the big question is, will the new tax regime take off? The government is hopeful that with the changes that have been made, this will be the inflection point. But do you believe that people are ready to give up on their exemptions and move to the new regime? Have you put enough on the table for them to do so?
Yes, there is enough on the table for each and every taxpayer to switch over to the new regime. And when there is a saving of money, I believe that, and this is the belief of the government, that people will shift to the new regime because that will give them flexibility to invest wherever they want to invest in case they want to, or otherwise it will be a hassle-free scheme which has been designed by the government.
Revenue foregone is about 35,000 crores. That is what the budget has estimated on account of this. But you must have done some scenarios on the basis of which you've arrived at these slabs and the impact on consumption, on the increase in disposable income, etc. What made you fix these particular slabs, and what do you believe will be the benefit that will accrue for the benefit of the layperson if they were to make the move?
We have done a lot of studies before coming out with the proposals, and what we have worked out is that every level the taxpayer will be benefited. There will be something left in the pocket of the taxpayer in terms of the tax payment which he is making.
Can you quantify that approximately?
Yeah, at every level, like about 15 lakh, it will be around 52,500, and below that it will be depending upon the income slab which the taxpayer is as of now having.
Okay. Mr. Johri, let me address the big number that came in before the budget. So there was a surprise on the GST front at and the highest since 20...
April.
Yes, that's correct. So do you expect that this kind of buoyancy in GST collections will continue?
Yes, I think so. So for the last couple of months, in fact, the whole of this financial year, Timsi, we've turned in more than 1.4 lakh crore each month. This is the central and state GST taken together. So I think that's the new normal, and as we work further on compliance and improving, ease of doing business, I think we'll see better revenue collections. Apart, of course, from the fact that the economy is also picking up, and that will give a further boost to revenues.
We didn't see any big changes as far as customs, etc. Were concerned this time around. In a few items, we did see some changes, some inversions being corrected, and so on and so forth. But on balance, it seems to be that a lot of the heavy lifting that has to be done on that front, has that been done?
No, in fact, I'm surprised you say that, because on the customs rate structure, there's been a very big change.
Okay.
Which is that the rate dispersion, as we call it, which represents, the range of rates that you have of customs duties, that has come down very substantially in this budget. And from 21 rates of basic customs duty, we've been able to bring them down to 13.
Okay.
So that's a very sharp cut, and that will obviously lead to much more simplification in the rate structure, making the life of taxpayers that much easier, because, there'll be lesser disputes about rates. The other thing is a carry forward of work that FM had announced in the last budget, which is review of customs duty exemptions. So there's a very large number of exemptions that we have reviewed once again. Some it has been decided to continue because they're required for the economy, but there are some which have also been abolished. So from the simplification point of view, I think the budget has done quite a lot on customs tariffs.
Okay. Let me address the tax to GDP issue with you, because this is again an area where we have seen good news and improvement over the last few years. In fact, I believe the tax to GDP ratio has gone up now to about 7.8% of GDP. That's the number that Moody's has put out. Given the fact that you now have much better data analysis, the two of you are talking to each other, that silo has been broken. What should we realistically expect in terms of the roadmap from here on?
We have been conscious of this fact, and tax GDP ratio has been rising over a period of time. Direct tax GDP ratio has been around 6% in 21-22 and must be rising in the near future. So that has been a constant endeavor of from our side, from CBDT side, that direct tax to GDP ratio should rise, and that has been the, I think, goal of the government as well, for overall tax GDP ratio to be improving.
You know, the ease of doing business and bringing down compliances, that continues to be the thrust as far as the government is concerned. You alluded to some of that as well. What more can we expect on that front? What is going to be the priority as far as both the departments are concerned? Let me start by asking you.
See, we are using technology in a big way to ease the way in which the taxpayers interact with us, and there has been a lot of positive feedback, and there is improvement in trust between the taxpayer and the department, and which has been visible in terms of the processing which we have done this year, in terms of the refunds which we are issuing, the quickness in which refunds have been issued. So I think we are doing fairly well. There is a lot of data exchange, as you have rightly said, between the law enforcement agencies and more particularly with the CBIC. And that data is being used to nudge the taxpayers, and we are getting good results out of it.
On the enforcement side, you know, especially on the GST side, we've seen things being fairly active. What's the indication from here on?
So, Timsi, I think there are 2-3 things that I would like to talk about from the point of view of ease of doing business. Let me begin with that on the GST side. If you've been following the story, you would have noticed that we have been working very actively towards trying to move to a system where over a period of time, and this is medium term to long term, I think the filing of returns itself would become unnecessary, because if you have the entire transaction level data of the invoice captured electronically, and as we drop the threshold for raising e-invoices under GST, there will come a time when you really won't need people to file returns, or at least you would be able to construct their returns based on the invoices, which is going to be a very big spin-off of digitalization from the point of view of ease of doing business. So that's one. Secondly, I think the one big point which I would like to focus on, which has happened in this budget, is to use PAN as a business common business identifier. Now, that of course speaks directly to ease of doing business. But if you look at it from the point of view of being able to integrate databases, not just CBDT, CBIC, but a whole lot of others which are dependent on PAN, there's a world of analytics that you can do with that data. And I think that will go both for improving compliance and for your ability to auto-populate returns, whether it's direct taxes or indirect taxes. So I think these are the kind of things that you can expect, more of digitalization. The third thing that I would like to talk about is that we're making much better use of data that we have in the system. And we're trying to use artificial intelligence and machine learning very actively, so that the discretion at the level of the field officers is curtailed. And in a centralized manner, we're able to identify the risky taxpayers or importers, exporters, and target in a very pointed way, you know, the wrongdoers or people who are violating the tax laws. So I think these are 2 or 3 broad themes that we are working on.
So feel confident of the tax numbers?
Sure.
Sure. That is short and succinct there from the CBDT chairman. Gentlemen, we will of course continue our conversation at the CNBC-TV18 budget verdict, but thank you very much for joining us for a first cut here at our budget headquarters, and look forward to having you both join us tomorrow as we get industry to interact with both the chiefs of the CBDT and the CBIC. We're not done yet. It's the slog overs. We've got plenty more to go. Come back to us after a very short break. We will resume with the CNBC-TV18 Budget Town Hall. Industry leaders, top government ministers, join us after this short break in a moment.